In India, why do you feel that farming is taken as the last resort profession?
One, farmers produce doesn't get enough appreciation in terms of money, and second thing is it feels like a lonely life.
So, if you had the resource, which would be the farming sector that you would like to invest in?
But, especially one of our harvests is cacao cocoa. Price went in the last 4 years. It's went from 200 rupees a kilo to 1,000 rupees a kilo.
Could you tell us some surprising facts about farming which people don't know?
You all know mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
So in a farm, if you see mushrooms, it's a fantastic thing. Mushroom is just a flowering body, but under the mushroom lies mycelial network. So you can't see it on our own eyes. We have to see it under microscope, and then we'll see these tubes spreading up to 15 kilometers underground.
How do you think do small farmers contribute to massive businesses?
I think through farmers cooperatives. I think in Dakshina Kannada, one of the best examples is Camco.
What is one damage which is always seen in these trees?
Yeah, like I said, areca nut, now we're getting YLD, which is yellow leaf disease, and Fadaftara is the other one. There are these two things. So one is a fungal attack, the other one is a viral attack.
Welcoming you all to the Poster Show, where we explore the stories and innovations that help us get healthier and move towards a sustainable world. Our today's guest, Mr. Partha Varanasi, who is the owner of Varanasi Farms, is going to take us into the journey where we understand organic farming and the sweet science of artisan chocolates. So let's get started. Welcoming you, sir.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Could you tell us the history of Varanasi Farms?
Yeah, it's quite a long story. I am the ninth generation farmer in this family. The story is that we received the land from a Kur king in the 18th century. One of our ancestors was a Vedic astrologer who happened to be a court advisor for Kur kings, and that's how we got the land wherever we have that land now. So down the generations, it got passed on, and we have the small from the original land. A small part of it is remaining. It's with our family now.
So, how has farming changed in your generation?
From the last three generation, the change started to was quite visible. My grandfather was Varanashi Subraya, who started Camco, and he also introduced the cacao in our farm. It was one of the first farms in India to have cacao 65 years ago. And then in my parents' generation, both were agriculture scientists. They are soil biologists. My mother studied soil macrobiology, and my father did soil microbiology, and I studied molecular biology. So we understood what was happening in the soil, and it's really important to take care of the soil. So that happened in the previous generation. In my generation, I think more of value addition, not just selling the cacao beans, but fermenting it really well, making chocolate out of it. Different batches and different products from cacao started coming. We started introducing the farm to volunteers. There is a movement called WOOFing, Willing Worker on an Organic Farm. So our farm was certified in the previous generation organic in 1997 to be accurate. But I got to travel quite a bit during my study days, my education, and I volunteered in many farms when I was traveling abroad in Australia, Canada, US, Switzerland, all these different countries, and wanted to bring that to India and to our farm. So we started off with volunteering and agritourism as well. So value addition, agritourism, and volunteering is something new at the farm in my generation.
So, could you tell us a little about how did you plan to start up and how in the year does the process work to volunteer in your farm?
Yeah. So to begin with, we put ourselves out there saying that we have volunteering options. Usually, it happens in a certified organic farm or a regenerative farm. So there are different platforms such as Workaway, .info, and then there is one group called FSL India. There is woofing.com. These websites we put ourselves up, and also in social media we put it out, saying that volunteers are welcome. And then when we receive the call, we get them to email their letter of interest. Why would they want to come? And also send their CV or resume or something. And then we have a short interview. And after that, they can come for anywhere between 15 days volunteering to 1 month to all the way. We have some international students coming for almost a year. They become a part of the family at the end of the thing. So that's how it started.
In India, why do you feel that farming is taken as the last resort profession?
I think it is to do with sustainability, especially the financial sustainability. Farmers, even though they go through a lot of efforts in developing a crop and harvesting it, upkeeping it, harvesting it, processing it, and then selling, they get the least amount in the share in the market, like the money wise, finance wise. So you have to work harder for less income. And one is that. The second thing is it doesn't trend. You've heard everywhere that farmers can't find a wife. So nobody wants to go to a farm and live. I don't think it's trending quite enough, even though farming life is actually a beautiful, healthy lifestyle. And yeah, I think these two are the main reasons. One, farmers produce doesn't get enough appreciation in terms of money, and second thing is it feels like a lonely life. Yeah, these are the two things.
So, if you had the resource, which would be the farming sector that you would like to invest in?
I think currently cold storage is something that I'd really like to look into. That's one thing, because the prices are fluctuating quite a bit. Especially one of our harvests is cacao cocoa. Price went in the last 4 years. It's went from 200 rupees a kilo to 1,000 rupees a kilo. So if there is cold storage, we could save this our produce for longer time. Otherwise, it's just 6 months. We could store it for years and get a better profit. That's one thing. And the second thing is our energy needs. Right. So if we can have an off-grid energy system and energy storage system, whether it's probably not through batteries, but through some new projects such as using the water and kinetic energy and stuff. So I think energy and needs and storage. So the two things.
So, what is sustainability farming?
Um, if you look into how our world developed, for the last 450 million years, there has been forest flourishing in our planet, right? And this happens through regenerative phase. So we know that in the carbon cycle, right? So we know oxygen is released from the trees. We consume oxygen, and we release carbon dioxide. And carbon dioxide is the food for plants. So they take it up and then release oxygen. So the cycle is happening right there. In a very similar way, there is something called nutrient cycle. This happens like when the roots of the plants absorb about 16 different types of nutrients, and they interact with sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, and all that, and beautiful photosynthesis happens. We all studied about photosynthesis, and then the crop comes from that. Like in the crop, it could be a grain or a banana or papaya or whatever it is. All the nutrients that we need, which is protein, carbohydrates, fat, nucleic acid material, all this stuff is there in the fruit that we eat or a grain that we eat, created by the plant. But once it starts decaying, consumed by the animals, humans, and all this, and then they throw it out, and then decay starts. Once the decaying is done by yeast and bacteria and other microorganisms, it goes back into elemental, that 16 elements that I mentioned earlier, and goes back into the roots. So this is a natural cycle. So in the presence of biology in the soil, whether it's animals, birds, microorganisms, if they are rich in number, the nutrient cycle also starts churning out faster. So that is regenerative farming, sustainable farming. So instead of using chemical fertilizers and pesticides to get your crop high yield in your crop, we use this natural system to increase our yield. So that is sustainable farming.
So, do you think sustainable farming is actually profitable, and how?
If you do it cleverly, I think sustainable farming is quite um, profitable, quite rewarding in multiple ways. For example, if you do sustainable farming, you're probably gonna get into the whole regenerative farming um, plan, the permaculture or organic farming. You get certified. Once you do that, you can have agrotourism in your farm, which means more and more people come and visit, and they come as paying guests. So there is an additional income from there. um, there is more higher chances for you doing value addition because you have a story how you converted your farm into an organic farm or a regenerative farm. So there is a story to tell to sell your produce for a higher price, so people will buy your choose your produce over a conventional farm. Everyone's concerned about health now. And then there is also the amount of money going on pesticides and fertilizers reduces, so your input cost also reduces, so overall your profit is a little higher. And then the most important thing, when you go on regenerative farming cycle, that principles, the life of the plant increases. So otherwise, if a say areca nut has 20 to 25 years of life, in a regenerative farm it has over 60 years life. Even at 60 it is producing quite a bit. So you're not going through a phase where there is no harvest for 5 years until you chop off the old trees, and then the new trees will take 5 years to grow. So that gap is not there. So putting all of this together, I think sustainable farming is way more profitable.
So, how do you ensure sustainability and productivity is a continuous cycle?
Yeah, like I said, the whole nutrition cycle is churning quite fast. Whatever nutrients that plants need comes from the topsoil. So when that is happening, your yield is also high at the same time. And when the yield comes, you're only taking, say, areca nut, right? In areca nut, you're only harvesting the nut, but the leaves are going back into the soil. The outer shell can be composted using microorganisms and then put back into the soil. In cacao, the beans are taken out as a produce, but the cacao shell is coming back into the soil. Same with coconut. Coconut outer shell gets shredded, and cocoa peat comes out of it, which is a fantastic compost material. So all this is going, while it is churning back into the soil, you're taking out the produce, and the productivity is increased as well, right? So from year to year, your production increases in sustainable farming. Whereas if you use chemical fertilizers, if you put certain amount of chemical fertilizer this year, next year to get the same amount of yield, you may have to use a little bit more because the absorption capacity of the plant is reduced because of the death of microorganisms over there. So that way, in sustainable farming, every year your productivity shoots up, and even in if there is some kind of pest attacking, the general immunity of the plant is much higher when you're using sustainable principles.
So, is the age old agriculture's wisdom still present today?
I think so. At least in our farming, we use it. Although part of our agriculture practices come from modern soil biology, part of it comes from ancient Vedic farming systems. We had a very solid structure for farming before. You might have heard of here and there Jivamrita and other techniques that we used, but it's a lot deeper than that. So this particular thing, it's a panchanga, right? We use this now to identify good days for marriage and for matchmaking and these things, but actually it's a lot deeper than that. So this is the world's oldest and first lunisolar calendar, which means it uses both sun's positioning and moon's positioning to determine the time and the date. And this is also used in agriculture. So for example, it tells the behavior of earth on that particular day more accurately than anything else. So we know that Kumbh Masa, which is like 15th Feb onwards, I think, that is really good for planting, where the sunlight is quite good, and at the same time there is still moisture left in the soil, so it's fantastic for planting at that time. And then we have the Swati rains to get the purest of water. Jivamrita, of course, I mentioned about Jivamrita, where It's nothing but water and jaggery, which is growing media for microorganisms. Also, you bring a cow dung from a desi cow, which has the best gut microbiome. So all that good microbes coming into the water with jaggery, and then we brew it for 2 to 3 days, and then put it to plants. So which is like a biofertilizer in itself, like a very clever way to do it. So these kind of practices, and also one more thing, natural remedy for some of the pests. So there is a plant called kanapari, which grows in the forests, and it is poisonous. Then we put it in the water, and that let it ferment in the water, and use that fermented water with kanapari as pesticide, where to keep the bugs away from paddy and all that. So there's many of these old practices which is still rock solid in terms of the efficacy which we use in the farm. So it's really nice to see a fertile intersection between Vedic farming and modern soil biology going hand to hand.
Right. Could you tell us some surprising facts about farming which people don't know?
Um, yeah, really fascinating thing. You all know mushrooms, right?
Yeah.
So in a farm, if you see mushrooms, it's a fantastic thing. Mushroom is just a flowering body, but under the mushroom lies mycelial network, right? The fungal body itself is a tubular structure, microtubules. You can't see it in on our own eyes. We have to see it under microscope, and then we'll see these tubes spreading up to 15 kilometers underground. And when they spread, they touch every single root, whatever plant there is. It touches every single root, and it creates an equilibrium and brings about nutrition from that 15 kilometers away to the plants, because their survival depends on the plants. They're symbiotic, and the plant survival depends on this. So they support each other, not only transfer water and nutrients, but also information about biotic and abiotic stress. So, for example, if there is a a pathogen attacking a plant on one side of your farm, and that one tree is affected, and this mycelial network picks up that information and spreads that information to every single plant attached to its root network, and says warns it to develop the immune system. Not just that, if this one or two plants which affected earlier finally develops a mechanism to push this pathogen away, it shares that information to all these plants, say that hey, this is how we repel the pest, why don't you try it on. So it helps in the preservation of all your crops underground. So I think it's really fascinating.
How do you think do small farmers contribute to massive businesses?
I think through farmers cooperatives. I think in Dakshina Kannada, one of the best examples is Camco. In the early 60s, till early 60s, Areca nut farmers were not really fetching much money, because Areca was being sold for 2 rupees a kilo, although in Gujarat it was being sold for 60 rupees, right? So farmers cooperative started Camco, and they started buying areca nut from the farmers for much higher price and started selling it in all different locations. And then this led Camco becoming a big company, which is also supporting the farmers. Also, farmers started becoming rich in our Dakshina Kannada, right? Which is basically, farmers are the backbone of a society. If farmers become rich, everyone else becomes rich. That's why you don't get to see much beggars in here. Everyone's fairly wealthy in Dakshina Kannada, I think. Yeah.
So, how do you handle the price fluctuations?
I think by having multi crops, we can handle the price fluctuation. Sometimes one of the crops will go down, the other crop might come up. Last year, especially, areca nut, even though the price didn't go down, we had a massive shortfall on our harvest because of extended monsoon, which brought about fungal infestation in areca farms. We lost a lot of crop, like 80% of the crop went off everywhere due to Phytophthora, root rot disease. However, the price of cacao went up from 250 rupees to 1000 rupees, like a big change in there, which saved a lot of farmers who had cacao along with cocoa, along with the areca nut, who did multi cropping. And then there is black pepper. Black pepper prices going up again. You have nutmeg. Nutmeg comes along with maize as well, and then banana, and you can have other herbs like turmeric, yeah. And having multi-crop basically saves the farmer from price fluctuations.
So, do you think farmers actually get a fair share in the chocolate industry?
In India now, I think they are getting more. Still, it can be better, but we are doing. India is doing it way better than some of the other South African countries like Ghana or Ivory Coast and all that, where the farmers had no idea what they're growing. They had no idea they make cross chocolate is made from cacao. Okay? Whereas in India, farmer cooperatives such as Camco brought up the cacao price quite a bit. I still think they can do much better. But who's really making an impact right now is artisan chocolate makers. So back in 2012, there was only one or two companies such as Mason and Co, Naviluna. That was it, who are making craft chocolate. But today, there are more than 50 craft chocolate makers in India. So in all these craft chocolate makers, they value cacao bean a lot more, because in craft chocolate, percentage of cacao is a lot higher. It's 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%, sometimes even 100. Whereas in commercial chocolates, like the big company Nestle, Cadbury, even Camco, they use only 2%. That too not cacao pure bean, but the extract from it. So if farmers produce has only 2% in the product, then farmer won't get much from the 10 rupee or 20 rupee chocolate bar which is sold. But if farmers produce cacao is at up to 60, 70, 80, 90% in the produce, farmers will obviously get more. And craft chocolate companies have been paying a lot more, almost twice as much as the commercial chocolate companies.
So, everyone loves chocolate.
Yeah.
But what's actually the journey of growing a cocoa?
Yeah, it's quite challenging. So, cocoa plant is the mother of cacao. I guess mother of cacao is a different plant, but yeah, the cacao pod comes from a cocoa plant. There are three different types of cocoa plants they can choose from, but most of it is almost hybrid these days. So it takes about from sapling to the point where it yields. It takes about 3 to 4 years, and on the fourth year, say, it starts producing flower in its stem itself, not on the tip. um, and when the flower comes, it takes about 14 weeks for the flower to become a pod, and not all the flower becomes pods. Less than 95%, so less than 5% becomes the pod, and 95% falls off. And once you get the pod, um, the ripe pod changes the color into yellow, and these pods are harvested. You have to crack open the bean, and you got to put it in boxes for fermentation, and you have to keep checking the temperature and give it mixed turnings for 7 days. After that, it goes out for sun drying. It has to be slow drying to remove the acidity, and once that happens, it goes to a chocolate factory. They roast the bean, and they do cracking, which is cracking of the bean, winnowing to remove the outer shell of the bean, then goes for conching, which is basically grinding for a long time, up to 48 hours. And the fine paste goes into tempering in a very smooth surface, like marble surface. And then it gets put into the molds, and then goes into the fridge to finally to be wrapped up and sent as chocolate bars. It's a long journey. Yeah, and we do tree to bar chocolate making workshops at our farm. It happens twice a year. Ketki Churi, one of the leading chocolate makers in India, she runs this course. Anybody can come and attend this 5-day course and understand the whole mechanism from planting to bar, chocolate bar.
Right. And you do have a brand of chocolate also,
Yeah,
right? Right. So, could you tell us a little about that?
yeah, it's called Terra. So we've heard of bean to bar or tree to bar chocolates, but we like to call it earth to bar because we take care of the soil. Soil biology is really rich in the farm where the cacao grown for the making of Terra. And the bar, sorry, the bean travels 0 kilometers before it becomes a bar. So it's like a really sustainable product. And because the farm is regenerative since the last 30 years, we have seen that the micronutrient level in our beans are much more higher than the conventional cacao farm beans. Yeah.
So, which is the best type of cocoa?
It's a very interesting question. If you are in South America, they will say criollo. Criollo is like a very pure variety, uh, but again, it's found where cacao is originated. Right, whatever came after that is all hybrids. There is a wild variety called Forastero. So there is criollo, the finest variety, and then there is Forastero, which is a wild variety, and then a hybrid which is called Trinitario. But I've been hearing experts talking a lot these days, but there is no more. You can't identify it as a Forester or a Trinitario or a Criollo. It's all a mix these days. But for from external looks, Forester looks more roundish. The plant is more disease resistant and yields slightly more. Trinitario is more sharper and has a ridgy surface and yields slightly less, but the bean quality is better, is what they say. Yeah,
So, what do you think people should know before buying a bar of chocolate?
yeah, definitely look at the label, ingredient label. If sugar is the first one, try avoid that. Um, Cacao in itself is a superfood, right? So the reason the cacao prices are three times that of almond prices is because it's a superfood. It has several characters which not only enhances your brain activity but also your physical body activity, right? So it has micronutrients which supports our physical metabolism, and it has compounds like tryptophan, which is a precursor for serotonin, happiness that we get, and also it has theobromine, which gives you that waking alert sense for a longer time than coffee. If coffee gives you, which keeps you awake for 2 hours, theobromine in cacao can keep you awake for 6 hours. So as long as you don't consume in the night and unable to sleep, but in the daytime, if you consume it early in the morning, it is really good for staying happy the whole day and active the whole day. One of the another big thing that they've discovered right now is consuming cacao every day increases the production of stem cells in our body. So the nutrients in it is conducive for the production of stem cells, which is then again can repair anything, like whether you have internal injuries or external injuries, whatever it is, it heals faster if you consume cacao. So there are a lot of benefits coming out these days. So if you're eating chocolate, eat the right kind, which will make you live longer and live stronger. Artisanal dark chocolates. If you want to see, the first ingredient should be not cacao mass, but cacao bean. Look for that. Always look for cacao bean should be the highest, the biggest ingredient in your chocolate. Then it's the real chocolate. If you see cacao mass, then it is not. Cacao solids, it's not real. It's the cacao bean has been ground. The butter, which is the best thing from the cocoa butter, has been removed and it's been alkalized. So then it's not good for you. Then there's only sugar, and it could be a good treat for yourself, but it's not doing any good for your body. So always look for cacao bean as an ingredient rather than cacao mass.
So, what is the storage process for cocoa?
So the fermentation is very important. So you ferment for up to 7 days. You check the sugar levels, you check the temperature, and you give return 48 or 72 hours. And then you sun dry it in a poly house, slow sun drying to remove the acidity. And once it's dried, when the moisture is between 6.5 to 7%, you pack it in grain pro bags. So grain pro bags usually keeps the regulates the moisture, and you tightly pack it, and you can store it in dry, cool place. Yeah, apparently, aged beans are fantastic for craft chocolates, and you can store up to 6 years. We haven't done it, but I've heard people say that if you use the proper bags and storage place, dry and cool, you can save it up to 6 years. And aged beans are much better than normal beans.
Right. So, what is the biggest challenge the farmers face today in the arecanut and the cocoa industry?
In arecanut is diseases, yeah, cocoa as well diseases. The climate change has made rainfalls pretty erratic these days. Last year we had an extended rainfall, which means both the crops, they're getting confused whether to yield or not to yield with so much rain. And then the biggest problem is fusarium and phytophthora. They are the two pathogens prevalent in our area. And the Phytophthora causes root rot disease in arecanut. Fusarium causes the blackness of the pods, and they just eat it up. Unfortunately, the highest yield comes during the peak rain season, the starting of monsoon, and we lose a huge amount of cacao uh, and arecanut to these pests, and it's heartbreaking as a farmer, especially when they're producing so much and we're losing it to pests. It's difficult. There is some biocontrol that you can do, and you can do mm, um, pruning of the trees and stuff to change the time of yield. But yeah, it's still a challenge.
Right. So, what is one damage which is always seen in these trees?
Yeah, like I said, arecanut now we're getting YLD, which is yellow leaf disease, and Phytophthora is the other one. There are at least two things. So one is a fungal attack, the other one is a viral attack. The viral attack is also because of low immunity by the plant. If a plant is grown in regenerative conditions, and if there is a good amount of micronutrients present in the soil, which is the case in a regenerative farm compared to a chemical farm, their immunity is better, and we see it's quite good that they're more resistant to these problems.
So, are there alternatives for the areca that the people are exploring?
Alternate uses for areca, you know what I like the most, which needs to be implemented, is making sustainable plates from areca leaf, halitatte, what we call it here,
Correct.
arecanut leaf plates. I think it's fantastic. I feel that it should be more premium in the market. You can buy it for a really less rate, but I think we can explore some premium markets for that. Um, and also, they're thinking of getting dye from the arecanut uh, husk, the wet husk, and also arecanut itself is a superfood, nootropic, if it has alkaloids, if it's used in the right way without tobacco. So the problem is we use it with the tobacco, and hence it's not healthy at all. So if people come up with other products which are healthy products or superfood products, then I think arecanut will have a brand new market.
So, which is the mixed crop that can grow with arecanut?
In our area, if you really grow with syntropic forest method, which is multi-layer method, arecanut are the tall ones. Arecanut, coconut, they go up to 30, 35 feet, and they capture the sunlight just on the top a little bit. They don't grow really wide like a banyan tree or anything. They're just on the top. So sunlight is the main food for the plants. So 95% of the food for plants come from sunlight, carbon dioxide, oxygen, water, and only 5% comes from soil. All the nitrogen comes to the soil from the air, and phosphorus, potash, and micronutrients all put together, only 5% is what required. So when arecanut goes really up on top, it captures the sunlight, which is the most important food for plants, on the top there, and it allows the sunlight to come down, trickle down, and then if you put pepper vines into arecanut plant, they will capture the sunlight and produce pepper as
Pepper.
produce. Then we can grow nutmeg. You have this beautiful nutmeg, and maize comes from a nutmeg tree. They grow about 20 to 25 feet tall, and they are a little bit wider, has more leaves and captures the remaining sunlight. You come down a little bit, you can have banana with massive leaves, and then cacao at the bottom. So you can have this multi-layer farm along with areca, cocoa, banana, nutmeg, black pepper, and that kind of jump starts the whole regenerative process.
Right. So, if somebody is starting to farm today, which are the five products that you would ask him to grow in his farm?
So the five products, if it's in Dakshina Kannada, our area, is definitely on the top. I would say arecanut or coconut, you can choose, and then black pepper. The price is really good right now, and you can pretty much plant on any tall tree. Nutmeg, it's a sustainable crop. It grows like a forest tree and produces every year. Year by year, it only increases. The production increases, and it's easy to harvest the nutmeg. Then comes cacao. Cacao or cocoa is a global crop. Prices skyrocketed now, and it's not coming down anytime soon. And then in the base, it could be like herbs such as spearmint or turmeric and all these things. So yeah, these are the several crops that I would say.
So, how do you save your land from pesticides and other farming diseases?
So the biggest problem that we face, like I said, the pest that we face is uh, s- s- sorry, Fusarium and Phytophthora. We have found natural enemies for that. A consortium of Trichoderma, Pseudomonas, Bacillus megatherium, and Circulans seems to chase away uh, Fusarium and Phytophthora. So you find a natural enemy. Like if you have a lot of rats in your house, instead of putting a rat poison, you can have a cat. Cat is a natural enemy of the rat. Cat will chase the rat away. Similarly, a problem caused by Phytophthora and Fusarium can be fought back with a consortium of other microorganisms such as Trichoderma, Pseudomonas, and the other two ones. So they'll push it back. So that way you in keep the pests away, and also the YLD, the yellow leaf disease. It can be fought by having arbuscular mycorrhizas in your soil and all these micronutrients through regenerative farming, and their immunity increases, improved immunity can fight against viral diseases.
Right. So, what's one memory that you have the most when you started farming?
Um, in my younger days, when I just
Yes.
started getting into farming, I think I was very young when I started walking around the farm. I was like 4 or 5 years old, and back in the days we had water channel systems. We didn't have sprinklers. We had water channel systems going zigzag through the farm, and running on top was just amazing. Like it was like two uh, places where you can run. In between there was water flowing, like a very small channel. It was like Temple Run. Have you played Temple Run? It
Yeah.
was like that. It was just zigzag going through the farm. I think that's the best memory as childhood. As an older guy now, getting back is definitely the soil biology. I love what happens in the soil, whether it's that 8 different types of microorganisms you have. You can totally see their work, like whether it's Azotobacter, Azospirillum, Pseudomonas, Trichoderma, Bacillus species, Frachuria. You have effective microorganisms in our pond, arbuscular mycorrhiza. All these things so fascinating. So when I walk through the forest, although we can't see them, we can see their work happening. The fallen leaf become a part of the soil within a matter of weeks. So I think that's more fascinating now.
You're
Yeah,
right.
very different things.
So, what is one myth about farming that you wish people should know?
I think it's especially in this area, people think if there is cocoa or cacao, areca nut yield will reduce. That is not true at all. I think the soil is 45% minerals. If you see the composition, chemical and physical composition of the soil, 45% is mineral of the soil, 25% is air, and the rest of it is water, and very small amount is biomass, right? So if there is 45% nutrients in the soil, why do you think that if you put two different crops, one will absorb more from the other? And the requirement for areca nut is different to that of cacao, right? But the thing is, if there is multiple types of plants in your, this is very important, remember this, when there is multiple types of plants in your plantation, these multiple types of plants have their own group of organisms that they support. When I say organisms, it could be birds, animals, bugs, worms, bacteria, fungi, yeast, all these different things. More types of organisms, both macro and micro, faster the regenerative cycle that turns, which is very important for higher yields. So if you have different set of crops, if you have areca nut, coconut, nutmeg, banana, pepper, cacao, all these different types, it is not pulling nutrients from one to the other. It is supporting each other and increasing the soil biomass and biology of the soil. So I think that's the biggest myth.
So, let's play an interesting fun and fact rapid fire round.
Absolutely. Fire
Yeah.
it.
So, what's the first thing that you've learned working with the land?
I think soil is alive. Soil is a living thing. That's what I learned. Yeah.
So, when it comes to Erica and cocoa, what's your favorite?
In terms of favorite crop, it's cacao. But if it is for the smell, then I would say areca nut smell. It smells like that petrichor smell. I like areca nut that way.
So, favorite chocolate product?
I would say Terra 65% cacao spice mix. Also, we add mm, special jaggery called palm jaggery to it. Yeah, so 65% cacao.
Right. What's one tool that you can't live without in your farm?
The sickle.
What's one thing that the government should actually do immediately when it comes to the farmers?
I think if government starts subsidizing organic manure and biopesticides and promotes the idea of regenerative farming and multi-crop instead of monoculture, I think fantastic things can happen to India. Sikkim has done it. It's just the rest of the states have to follow.
So, what is the first crop that you've planted?
A cacao plant.
Areca as a crop, tolerate it or love it?
In a multi-crop farm, I love it.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark artisan chocolate all the way.
So, what's your dream for your land and for your crops?
Definitely go sustainable in terms of our energy needs and food needs, and make it a place for people to come and involve in farming, movement, and education.
That's all for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed the journey of organic fields and cocoa farms. Understanding one simple practice can help us live healthier and happier. One farm, one bean, and one bar at a time. Until next time, stay informed, take care, and bye bye.